So I thought I would do a video as opposed to a haiku or lyric um, on something I've just been thinking about. The last since yesterday. I had a consultation with somebody yesterday who raised the point that I hear somewhat often, and it's worth discussing, especially because we've been discussing other people, SP type stuff, right? Which most of I really don't like doing in any type of traditional sense, because the SP you want is always you. It's always you. Who you really want is you. When you realize what you are, not who you are, but what you are, you realize, oh, I had that inside of me the whole time. And that doesn't mean that you wouldn't prefer a relationship. You very well might prefer to be in a relationship than not be in a relationship with somebody else. But it means that the person who you have to prioritize, the person that you truly want, not only desire, but, need, essentially, is yourself. It's not the other. And then from there, if that becomes more clear to you, then it becomes easier to find that other usually. Does that make some semblance of sense? I know that sounds kind of mystical or esoteric or whatever, but I mean, that's really like the gist of this whole SP thing when I talk about it. Because, like, for instance, yesterday, this person had made a very, valid point that I understand from an emotional level. Totally understand. From a counseling perspective, I very much understand it. She was saying that, I want that feeling of being with somebody where I feel like I am being, loved. I'm being prioritized by another person, and I get to have that. It's like a reward for all the other good things I do. And this person does a bunch of other good things, They're not a narcissist or something like that. Quite the opposite. They're a compassionate person who cares about other people, cares about the world. And she was saying, but I feel like I should get that reward of having somebody else in my life who loves me, and maybe even dotes on me in a way. And, like I said, I've heard this before from several people. And I get it. You want that feeling of of love from another person. And you want that sense of I deserve that love from another person. That's all great. Nonetheless, that's different than what we're talking about when you are the SP. That's on top of something. And you being the SP is not on top of anything. It's not an additional thing. It's not a bonus. It's what this inner work is all about, in my opinion, a lot of the time. The inner work is about realizing that you are enough. And if a romantic partner comes into your life, great. But if they don't, it's okay. And if you focus on a romantic partner coming into your life, but you prioritize you being the focus of your own world, meaning that you realize that what you want on a deep level is yourself, then that other person is more likely to come in. But it's like two separate things. And wanting that other person, I mean, again, I get it. And you can do all these manifesting exercises we always hear about. We can do sats. We can do affirmations. We can do whatever, wahavu wadupa, you know, in order to get that other person into our life. We can do that stuff. The problem is, for this person yesterday, and the majority of people I speak to, is it doesn't effing work. Or it works not in the way that they want. You know, it's like, oh, this person started texting me. Yeah, that worked. Great. Now what do you do? Oh, or now I'm dating this person, but it turns out he or she has all this baggage. Now what do you do? What you do is you recognize that what you really want is self-love. Self-love. That's not like a preference. That's like a requirement. And if you have enough self-love, that becomes clear to other people in your world, and you are more likely to, quote unquote, attract a partner. But it's like two separate things, you know? And I really, my focus is always on the first thing. It's on, what are you doing? What are you doing? And are you okay right now? With or without the other person, are you okay right now? Can you feel okay right now? That's the work. And I found that if we do find we feel okay right now, that we can then start to feel good, not only okay, but good more of the time. And once we start feeling good more of the time, and okay a lot of the time, and this is how it is, and I'm all right with it. Once we start doing that, if we really do want that relationship with another person, more likely to happen. And you can still do the affirmations or the visualization. You can still say, I want to be in a relationship with a loving, beautiful, sexy, whoever. You can still do that. It's just, that's not the priority. The priority is you. You are the specific person. You are the special person. You. And the funny thing is, that's not really funny, is with that much self-love, if you start giving yourself that much self-love, and it's not selfish, it's self-love, which is very different than selfish or narcissistic love. If you give yourself that fulfillment, if you feel that fulfillment, that peace and joy within you that comes with self-love almost inherently, if you do that, other things are going to open up, including probably a relationship. But in my experiences, you know, working with people, it doesn't necessarily happen like, oh, well, then I magically meet somebody the next week. Sometimes you're giving yourself self-love, and you're not even, after a while, you're not even thinking about meeting another person, or you're thinking about it very minimally. You know, maybe you have your intention that you look at every day, but you're not thinking about it all the time or desperate or obsessed about it because you're giving yourself self-love. You're realizing that you are what you really want on a deep level. And then, you know, 6 months after starting this practice more intently, you know, someone introduces you to somebody, you go on a lunch and they have a friend who happens to introduce you to somebody else, and that person ends up being your husband, or that person ends up being your wife. And it's only in retrospect, maybe you're like, oh yeah, well, I wonder if that was because I started really giving myself more self-love. Again, this is the magic, in my opinion, you know. There's no fairy tales, you know. It's just like, I love myself to the best of my ability. I do my best to be a good person. And I give that goodness out to the world naturally. I'm in touch with my feelings. I'm in touch with, what I am. And I navigate the highs and lows, and I just stay in touch with what I am. You do that, relationships get easier, including the most important relationship, which is with yourself.